Good evening. Welcome to English 3. My name is Mr. Mark John. This is year 16 for me here at LHS. And the one constant is that I have been teaching English 3 throughout. So I feel like I'm pretty familiar with the curriculum, especially since I've had a hand in creating much of it. And I'm really excited in terms of the year that we're going to have with your students. So, what does our curriculum look like? Essentially, we've broken it down to a study of rhetoric. Rhetoric is a skill that I think not only will serve them well, let's say, on their SATs and those sorts of things coming up, but it's just a great life skill to be able to dissect an individual's message and know what their motivation might be, how they're trying to sell you a product, how they're trying to negotiate with you, and the tricks they might be using. So, rhetoric is definitely one of those lifelong skills, and it's one that not only do we want students to dissect what others are doing, but then they themselves have those tools for communication and can make intentional decisions about their writing, about their speech that can have some sort of persuasive effect. So, when we look at the first semester, it really is a pretty in depth study of rhetoric, starting where we are now, which is just the introduction to these various concepts, the rhetorical situation. We'll move on to methods of persuasion. Eventually, moving along by the end of the units, if you look at the last two units, Unit 3, rhetorical analysis, which really gets in depth into deconstructing and analyzing how a speaker or a writer might deliver a message. And then by the end, Unit 4, having studied extensively over a few months those various devices, those various rhetorical moves a speaker writer makes, we have students themselves employ those in the final unit to see how well they can now use those rhetorical tools. In terms of the second semester, having done that in-depth study first semester, second semester I think is a lot of fun, and it's different in that second semester is very much project based. Each unit lasts roughly 6 to 8 weeks, and each unit has some sort of end goal. So, Unit 6, students will compose an oral history. Unit 7, passion project, is more of a research paper, but done on a topic of the student's choosing. And then we conclude the school year with a personal essay, a philosophy statement of sorts. It's really a great springboard into senior year when many students are looking to apply to colleges and have to write a personal statement. They'll go back to their This I Believe essay from junior year, and they have a pretty nice foundation how to move along there. I know grades are always on people's minds. So, in terms of how we run our grade categories, you'll see that a bulk of our um, grades come from summative assessments. And we don't have a lot of them in that we have one per unit. Sometimes we'll have two, like in this first unit, we're going to have a couple summative assessments. So the point is that we don't have a lot of those, and as a result, the grade is determined by those summative assessments largely. Formative assessments we do throughout. We've already had a couple. The important thing to keep in mind with both is as follows. In terms of formative assessments, I mean, they are largely practice. So if a student wants to redo them, see if they could score better, that's something that they're allowed to do. Summative assessments, on the other hand, are the culmination of the unit. So those are one and done assignments. In terms of late policy, formative assessments can be redone up until the conclusion of the unit. Um, so after that, I don't want to say there's no point because there's always some sort of from completing an exercise. But the purpose of a formative assessment is to inform student instruction, and so it becomes difficult then um, to use the data from a formative assessment to drive any instruction because the unit's been concluded. Um, Summative assessments, if they're done late, they're still accepted because we do want to see evidence of student learning. If you have any questions about the class, any questions for me, please feel free. Usually email is a lot easier just because we don't have a direct phone line, so I would have to do voicemail and things like that. But I'm really looking forward to a good semester. SAT year, junior year. So we do talk about grammar here and there along based on what I see in student writing. Um, the essay portion of the SAT is rhetorical analysis. So our curriculum is really geared towards preparing students for that as well. Looking forward to having a great year. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Have a great day.